The Sierra Nevada was buried in white, its peaks and valleys transformed into a vast, frozen wilderness. The landscape, once rugged and brown, now lay hidden beneath a thick, unbroken blanket of snow, stretching as far as the eye could see. It was as if the mountains themselves had been swallowed by winter, their jagged edges softened and silenced by the relentless cold. For days, a relentless storm had battered the range, dumping snow in quantities not seen in years. The wind howled through the passes, sculpting drifts and erasing all traces of the world below. Visibility dropped to almost nothing, and the air was thick with swirling flakes, each one adding to the mounting weight pressing down on the mountains. Snow piled upon snow, layer after layer, each one heavier and more unstable than the last. The mountains groaned under the burden, their slopes growing more treacherous with every passing hour. Beneath the surface, tension built, silent, invisible, and deadly. On February 17, 2026, the sky over Castle Peak was heavy and gray, the sun hidden behind a shroud of storm clouds. The air was thick with anticipation, as if the mountain itself was holding its breath, waiting for something to break the uneasy calm. At 11:30, the mountain let go. A deep thunderous crack echoed across the slopes, shattering the silence. In that instant, the white dragon awoke, unleashed from its icy slumber. 15 skiers, led by a professional tour company, were deep in the backcountry, far from safety and civilization. They had come seeking adventure, drawn by the promise of untouched powder and the thrill of exploring the wild, remote heart of the Sierra. But the very snow that drew them there became their undoing. Beneath their skis, the mountain was alive with hidden danger, its surface beautiful but treacherous, masking the instability below. Suddenly, the world beneath their feet fractured. A massive slab of snow broke free, thundering down the slope with unstoppable force. The avalanche roared to life, a white wall of destruction hurtling toward everything in its path. The avalanche devoured everything before it, snapping trees like twigs and scouring the mountainside clean. The power of nature was absolute, indifferent to anything in its way. For those caught in its path, there was no time to react. Just chaos, terror, and the overwhelming sensation of being swept away in a brutal, suffocating torrent. The world became a blur of white and noise, bodies tossed and tumbled like rag dolls in the storm. The force was immense, the roar deafening, a primal sound that drowned out all thought and hope. In those moments, the mountain was in control, and survival was far from certain. As the slide settled, silence and crushing weight replaced the chaos. The world was still again, but everything had changed. The snow, once inviting, was now a tomb, hiding stories of struggle and loss beneath its surface. In moments, a day of adventure became a desperate struggle for survival. Those who remained above the snow clawed at the debris, searching for friends, for hope, for any sign of life in the aftermath. Nature had made the rules and enforced them with devastating finality. In the Sierra Nevada, the white dragon sleeps lightly, and when it wakes, it reminds all who enter its domain of the true power of the wild. The disaster at Castle Peak came with warnings that echoed through the valleys and across the ridgelines, but were all too easy to ignore in the excitement of fresh snow. The mountain, shrouded in swirling clouds and battered by relentless winds, seemed to pulse with a quiet menace, as if nature itself was issuing a challenge. That morning, the Sierra Avalanche Center had issued a high avalanche danger alert, a stark, flashing red light for all who dared venture out. The bulletin warned of unstable conditions, urging caution, but the lure of untouched powder and adventure often drowns out even the loudest alarms. The snowpack was dangerously unstable, a layered cake of risk. Heavy, wet Sierra cement had piled up on weaker, older snow, creating a treacherous foundation. Each new storm added weight, pressing down on fragile layers that could barely hold together. Meteorologists predicted feet of new snow, with blizzard conditions sweeping across the Sierra. The forecast was dire. High winds, low visibility, and relentless snowfall would only compound the avalanche risk, making the mountains even more unpredictable and dangerous. The mountain was a powder keg, primed to explode. Yet, drawn by the promise of adventure, the skiers crossed its fuse, their tracks etching lines of hope and risk across the slope. Each step, each turn, was a gamble against nature's odds. A slab avalanche, when a solid layer of snow suddenly slides off a weaker base, can be triggered by a single skier, a single misstep. The weight of a person is sometimes all it takes to shatter the delicate balance, unleashing a torrent of snow and ice. The group's movement, their combined weight and momentum, likely provided the final push. Unknowingly, they set off a chain reaction, disturbing the fragile layers beneath their feet and awakening the mountain's fury. The slide was immense, an unstoppable wall of snow gathering mass and speed as it thundered down the mountainside. Trees snapped, rocks tumbled, and the roar echoed for miles, leaving behind a vast, dense debris field that swallowed everything in its path. Once the avalanche settled, the snow hardened into a mass as solid as concrete, entombing anyone caught beneath. The weight and density made rescue efforts a race against time, as every second buried hope a little deeper. In an instant, the beautiful landscape, so serene and inviting just moments before, became a deadly trap. The transformation was swift and merciless, a stark reminder of nature's power and unpredictability. Hopes and lives were buried under tons of icy debris. For those left behind, the mountain's fury was a lesson written in snow and sorrow. A reminder that in the high country, respect for the elements is not just wise, but essential for survival. In the heart of winter, a professional ski tour company gathered a group of eager adventurers, promising not just an unforgettable journey into the pristine backcountry, but also the assurance of safety and the guidance of seasoned experts. These guides, with years of experience navigating the unpredictable mountain terrain, were entrusted with the lives and dreams of their clients. For many, this was more than just a trip. It was a chance to push boundaries, to find freedom in the wild, and to trust in the expertise of those leading the way. The clients placed their faith in the guides, believing they would read the subtle signs of the mountain, interpret shifting weather, and make decisions that balanced adventure with caution. In these moments, trust is not just a word, it's a lifeline, binding the group together as they venture into the unknown. But on this fateful day, that trust was shattered. A sudden turn of events transformed excitement into chaos, and the mountain, indifferent to human plans, unleashed its fury. The result was catastrophe, lives forever changed in an instant. The decision to continue the expedition, despite clear and explicit avalanche warnings, is now the subject of intense scrutiny and debate. Questions swirl about what was known, what was ignored, and whether the risks were fully understood or communicated. Commercial guiding operations are held to a higher standard of care. The storm, the unstable snowpack, the warnings, they were all there, visible to those trained to see. The responsibility to protect clients is not just a legal one, but a moral obligation, especially when the dangers are no surprise to professionals. The group itself was a tapestry of humanity. Mothers and fathers, sons and daughters, friends and strangers, united by a shared love of adventure and a longing to connect with nature. For some, it was a lifelong dream. For others, a cherished family outing. Each person brought their own hopes, fears, and expectations to the mountain that day. Instead of returning with stories of exhilaration and triumph, their day became a headline, a somber reminder of how quickly joy can turn to tragedy. The thin line between exhilaration and disaster was crossed, leaving a community in shock and sorrow. The company's name is being withheld as investigations continue, but the role of those in charge is unmistakable. Their decisions, actions, and omissions are now under the microscope, as families and the public demand answers. This tragedy forces a reckoning, not just for one company, but for the entire industry. It raises difficult questions about the commercialization of risk, the pressures to deliver adventure, and the profound responsibilities that come with leading others into hazardous environments. On this day, judgment faltered, and the consequences were devastating. The mountain remains, silent and unchanged, but for those involved, nothing will ever be the same. When the avalanche stopped, silence fell. 9 skiers were missing, buried deep beneath the snow, their chances fading by the minute. 6 survived, some injured, all disoriented, fighting to clear airways and escape the crushing weight. Relief at survival was quickly replaced by horror. Most of their group was gone. The pristine slope was now chaos, blocks of snow, splintered trees, scattered gear. Training kicked in. The first 15 minutes are critical for rescue. Survivors switched transceivers to search, hoping to find buried companions. But the debris was vast, the group small and injured, and the clock was merciless. The 6 survivors knew self-rescue was their only hope. Equipped with modern safety tools, one skier activated a radio beacon, sending a digital cry for help. A text message, typed with freezing fingers, reached emergency services. Avalanche, people buried, immediate help needed. Their distress call set the rescue in motion. With help on the way, survival became the focus. The storm raged, temperatures dropped, and exposure threatened hypothermia. The group built a makeshift snow cave, using a tarp and digging into the snow. The shelter offered protection and a psychological boost, a refusal to give up, Inside, they tended to the injured and waited, hoping their messages had been received. Their ingenuity bought precious time. Now, all they could do was endure and hope. The distress calls triggered a massive search and rescue operation. Teams from local resorts and adventure centers mobilized, braving the same storm that caused the avalanche. Visibility was near zero, wind howled, and avalanche risk remained high. Rescuers faced peril with every step, racing against time and the elements. The operation was a logistical puzzle, coordinating teams, equipment, and air support when possible. Searchers used probes, avalanche dogs, and technology to comb the debris. Progress was agonizingly slow. The storm hampered every effort. Through the night, rescuers pressed on, a desperate battle against the mountain and the clock. The Castle Peak avalanche shattered the illusion of safety in the backcountry. Before this, avalanche deaths were below average for the season. Now, with 9 missing, it could become one of the deadliest slides in U.S. history. Such tragedies force a national reckoning in the skiing world. This incident, involving a guided party, raises questions about industry standards and professional responsibility. The loss is staggering. 15 went out, 6 returned, 2 injured, 9 gone. These are not just numbers. They are families, friends, a community wounded. The scale of loss is hard to comprehend. It's a grim punctuation mark on the winter season, underscoring the ever-present danger of the high peaks. The search for the missing has shifted from rescue to recovery. After 24 hours, hope for survival is nearly gone, but teams press on for the families. The work is slow, dangerous, and emotionally draining. This tragedy casts a long shadow over the Sierra Nevada, forcing a painful reevaluation of risk. Castle Peak, once familiar, is now a place of sorrow. The lessons learned will shape future safety protocols and guide training. The goal is not blame, but understanding, so future tragedies can be prevented. This avalanche will become a case study for a new generation. The ultimate legacy will be the changes it inspires, a stronger culture of safety and humility before nature. The mountains endure, but life is fragile. The hope is that loss leads to resilience. The mountain is slow to give up its dead. Each day, recovery teams return to the debris field, seeking closure for grieving families. The echoes of the slide have faded, replaced by the quiet determination of recovery. This event will be etched into Sierra Nevada history, a cautionary tale for generations. Castle Peak is now a memorial, its story a permanent lesson. The outdoor community faces hard questions about risk and responsibility. The guiding industry must renew its commitment to client safety above all. The mountain remains, its scars hidden by new snow, but the memory endures. The legacy of Castle Peak is heavy, carried by survivors, rescuers, and families. It is a solemn reminder: the price of wild beauty can be everything.